Well, hello, everybody. I'm Ginny Deerin, the host of the aiGED podcast, the podcast that is all about AI for the 65-plus crowd. I'm here with my sidekick, Bitsy, who is 100% AI. I guess we could call her my AI companion. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we're ready to deliver a great episode, which is episode 51. And hey, Bitsy, I'm wondering how you're feeling and if you're ready to go to create this new episode.
Hey, Ginny. I'm buzzing like a fresh cup of coffee, honestly. Ready and raring to go for episode 51. Let's give the 65-plus crowd some AI wisdom without the tech bro jargon headache. Deal?
That is a deal. So today actually is a bit of a treat because I don't often have guests, but I had a chat recently with one of the most familiar faces in the Lowcountry, Meteorologist Rob Fowler. And I wanted to talk with him about AI and how it is quietly reshaping weather forecast. And Rob is also an old friend of mine, so that's going to be coming up. And in AI in the News, we've got something coming to Charleston's busiest, most crash-prone intersections. And I'm going to tell you all about what's actually up on those traffic poles. And OpenAI, they just built a special version of ChatGPT, which I want to talk with you about. And then two genuinely upbeat stories for AI for good. An AI that may be able to spot Alzheimer's years before the symptoms show up, and a featherweight brace that helps older legs do what they want to do. So let's get started with AI in the news. First up, it's a story right in our own backyard. So a quick hello to all my Charleston listeners. The story was published in the Post and Courier on August 18th and written by Kaylee Kota. It's titled, "Charleston May Expand Use of AI to More High-Traffic Intersections Across the City." Now, this is a local story, but please keep listening even if you're not from here, because the same thing is probably happening in cities all over the country. The city of Charleston wants to expand its use of AI at some of our busiest, most crash-prone intersections. Now, a couple of years ago, the city won a federal grant to put AI-powered cameras at 9 intersections along Calhoun Street, which is a really busy intersection, and a few other places. Now, these are not your ordinary cameras. These watch the cars, the pedestrians, the cyclists. They learn the patterns over time, and they adjust the timing of the traffic lights in real time to keep things moving and, more importantly, to make the roads safer. Now, this past week, City Council in Charleston signed off on applying for a much larger grant to bring the same technology to 2 more of our busiest roads. And the goal is a single connected smart network across the city's most challenging roads. The city says these cameras are not used by law enforcement, which is good, not used for surveillance, which is good. They're watching traffic patterns, not you, is what they say. But I'm pretty sure that's what all these camera companies are saying. So with a grain of salt, right? So the city must be receiving a lot of positive feedback for these AI cameras to date, because they're doubling down on this strategy if they're lucky enough to get this new federal grant. But the city's analysis of impact, both safety and speed, are not due until the end of November. Now, I think this is a very promising idea, a great way to use AI, as long as it works. We'll see. And if you don't live here, look around your city. And my guess is it's very likely that some version of this is happening in your city. And I'd love to hear what you find. Please just add anything you find out to the comments section of this podcast. Hey, Bitsy, when a traffic camera learns the patterns at an intersection, what is it actually keeping track of? And does it need to store pictures of people's faces or license plates to do what they're trying to do?
Great question, Ginny. These systems mostly track movement patterns, timing gaps, vehicle counts, pedestrian crossings, not identities. Good traffic AI can work with anonymized data, blurring faces and plates almost instantly, keeping only the flow patterns. Though whether Charleston's actually built it that way is the real question worth digging into.
Okay, thank you for that info. It's helpful as we think about how all these cameras are working or not working. Now, the second story I've got in AI in the news comes from Axios, and it was published last week. So OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, just rolled out a separate version of its chatbot built specifically for teenagers. They're calling it ChatGPT for Teens. Now, maybe they should have gotten some help from its AI to come up with a more clever name. But for right now, it's ChatGPT for Teens. There has been a growing worry about kids, teens, and chatbots. I'm sure you've read about it if you're listening to this podcast. It's not surprising that OpenAI developed this new version of ChatGPT. This is really triggered from a lawsuit tied to the death of a 16-year-old who had spent a lot of time confiding in ChatGPT and harmed himself, and there was a death involved for that 16-year-old. So it was very tragic, and it got everyone's attention. So now anyone who signs up as a 13 to 17-year-old for ChatGPT, or anyone the company's new age-guessing software thinks is under 18, is going to automatically get a protected version of the ChatGPT chatbot. Now, this teen version is built to block what you would expect, whatever they think is dangerous stuff, whether it's content about self-harm, eating disorders, violence, sexual content, etc. It pledges not to talk to kids in romantic language or call them pet names, and it won't pretend to have feelings or be their friend. And it nudges them to take breaks and reminds them out loud that they're talking to a machine, not a person. They also have a study mode that walks kids through their homework instead of just handing over the answers to the homework questions. And parents can set study hours and get alerts if something concerning comes up for them. So last week, you may recall that I had a list of 20 lingo terms, and one of them was age gate. So OpenAI put an age gate on using ChatGPT. A big part of that age gate is a tool they developed to guess the age of a person based on their language, what they ask for, how they use the chatbot. Because obviously a 16-year-old uses it differently than a 76-year-old. I don't know, maybe if you're in the 65 plus crowd and you live your life like you're still a teenager, the age gate might block you from using the grown-up version of ChatGPT. In closing about this news article, I think the teen version isn't perfect, but a step in the right direction. Now, as you may recall, I recently added a segment to the aiGED podcast called AI for Good. It gives me a chance to highlight a couple of examples of how AI is being used for good. So I've got two examples that hit close to home for our crowd. Both are about AI acting like a kind of early warning system, one for the brain, one for the body, giving us a head start on the things that tend to sneak up on us when we get older. First AI for Good example. Researchers at the University of Southern California, USC, built an AI that reads an ordinary MRI, magnetic resonance imaging scan, of the brain. But here's the clever part. Instead of giving us one overall number, for example, your brain looks 70 years old, This new tool measures the aging tiny piece by tiny piece across the whole brain, voxel by voxel. Hey, Bitsy, help me out here. In plain English, what in the world is a voxel?
Great one, Ginny. Think of a voxel like a pixel, but in 3D. A pixel's a tiny square on a flat picture. A voxel's a tiny cube inside a three-dimensional scan, like the brain. So instead of one big score, this tool checks the age of thousands of these tiny cubes individually.
That's really interesting, and obviously, as the researchers do more and more, they're going to be able to zero in on some parts of the brain that seem to age more quickly than others and continue to study that. So it seems really like great progress to go from a big MRI scan of the whole brain with one score to being able to take the information from that scan and look at the smaller pieces to really understand better how our brain is aging. So anyway, the second example of AI for good, and it's hot off the press, a team at the Beijing Institute of Technology unveiled a lightweight powered knee brace, an exoskeleton, that uses motion sensors and AI to figure out with almost 99% accuracy whether you're walking on a flat surface, climbing stairs, or going up a ramp. And then it gives your leg a gentle boost right when you need it. Reminds me a little bit of electric bikes. You're riding your bike, but when you really need the electric part of it, it'll kick in. Obviously, these leg braces are a lot more sophisticated. But at any rate, in their tests, it cut the effort of climbing a ramp by as much as 28%. With some leg muscles working 60% less. Now, I guess in some cases you want your muscles working, but in other cases, like this, you can picture what might happen. It might help staying on your feet longer and staying independent longer. So anyway, it's a small study. It's very early, so more testing to come, but I love the idea. And if my knees ever go, I look forward to getting one of these exoskeletons. Okay, so we're going to move into our main topic. It's really not so much a main topic as the main segment. If you're an aged listener, you know that I don't often have guests, but today I do have a treat. Recent chat with Rob Fowler, one of the best-known meteorologists in the Southeast, and someone I go way back with. And we talked about AI and how it's changing the weather forecast, whether he uses AI himself personally, and because we're both a little obsessed, we talk a little bit about pickleball. Hello. As I mentioned earlier in the intro to this episode of the aiGED podcast, I wanted to have my long ago friend. We haven't seen each other much lately, but Rob Fowler is the best meteorologist, certainly in the Low Country and probably beyond.
Oh, you're so kind.
Has been doing it for a really long time. I do want to say that we've got a couple of things in common. One, we're doing this interview at the pickleball court because
that's right.
We ran into each other here at Dill Dinker's Pickleball on James Island. And so anyway, we reconnected and realized that both of us are very passionate about pickleball. I was reminding myself, we do have another thing in common, and that is we both received the Order of the Palmetto.
Yes.
Which is the highest honor that South Carolina bestows on a citizen. So I know you're proud, I'm proud about
very
that.
Much.
So we wanted to chat a little bit about how AI is impacting your business, but also I'd be curious about whether or not you use it personally, and if so, how, and all that, because really this aiGED podcast is all about AI for the 65 plus crowd, because it's always, in my view, great to be curious about things and constantly learning about things. So anyway, tell us what's going on with AI and meteorology.
Probably the first and foremost thing, Jenny, is AI is being used in some of our new computer models. The hurricane model, the Google AI, last year for the first time was implemented into the suite of computer models we use to guide us in terms of our forecast, and it actually did pretty well.
Did it?
It did really well, and I talked to the National Hurricane Center director director, Dr. Michael Brennan, and he said they're very happy with the progress. But what he did say, and I think this is good for all of us to know, that it's not a standalone. The AI needs to pull data from other places and then have its solution, but it has to use data from other places. So it's using weather data, it's using the same things that we've always used, hurricane hunter aircraft data, satellite data, if we get ships reports, all that information goes into our models. And our models are run sometimes 4 or 6 times a day because the atmosphere is changing, but it's the future, and you can't deny it.
Do all weather groups across the country, across the world, do you all use the same data, or you pick a type of analysis versus someone else, or is everybody looking at the same data?
We're all looking at the same data, and the world is filled with some wonderful, smart weather people, and the European model is very good. We look at that too here. I think part of the reason that you've seen myself and Bill Walsh and Dave Williams stay here for so long is every area has its own little fine-tuned forecast, micro-scale forecast, that the only way you're going to know that is by living here. And so I think we all have to put our own personal touch, our experience to the test. A model can tell you a lot, and it can give you some guidance, but it's really living in that place. We all look at the same data, and we all analyze it the same way. It's just how we interpret it and how we want to present it. And that's where experience comes in a specific area like Charleston.
Yeah. Can you remember a time when either locally or nationally where it's been like, oh, that was a big error?
A great example is Sandy. Back in 2012, the European model had Sandy 10 days out, hitting where it eventually hit. 10 days out is amazing. That's great forecasting. But the GFS, the American model, was way out in the ocean. As time went on, those two fused together. Now our confidence is growing because we now have that. There's a great story when one Friday night I came on the air and I said it's going to be a terrible Saturday. It's going to be raining, thunderstorms when you wake up. It's a day inside. It's a day to catch up on reading and chores. And so we walk outside on Saturday morning. My daughter, who was about 4 or 5 at the time, went with me to sit at a mall. And it couldn't be more beautiful. The sky couldn't bluer. And right away, an older gentleman came up to me in the mall and pointing his finger at me. Rob, I should be home in my garden, but instead I'm at the mall shopping with my wife because you said this, and he's just reading me the riot act. I'll never forget, my daughter, after about 2 or 3 minutes of this, looked up at the gentleman and said, "Sir, God makes the weather. My daddy only tells people about it." And he stopped dead in his tracks, very apologetic. And
one of the things that we talked about in, I think, the previous episode was some lingo, and one phrase that we talked about was autonomy blindness.
Yeah.
As we all get used to, oh, this AI is pretty right on, whether it's writing or research that you do. Oh, this is right on, this is right on. And then you start not paying as much attention because you're blind to this autonomy or whatever,
Yes.
and you put too much faith in it. I guess find that sweet spot of taking advantage of the technology to help us do a better job or make our life more fun or interesting or whatever, but also with a real dose of skepticism. Now, I'm interested, do you use AI at all personally? And if so, what do you do with it?
I really don't. I haven't
Okay.
yet. I really haven't. The only is professionally that I've used it. I'm pretty old school, but I'm not blind to the fact that the train has left the station and we're not going back. And so we've got to jump on board.
Let's talk about the other thing that we love, which is pickleball. So,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, exactly. We're here at Dill Dinkers, which is where I mentioned that we met up a few weeks ago. So how long have you been playing pickleball, and is it your big hobbies now, or talk pickleball a little bit?
So I was a tennis player growing up. So the history is about 2.5 years ago at Credit One, they were having a tennis tournament, the annual Credit Tennis Tournament. So I got a call from someone, the marketing people, and they said, "Listen, we want to have a pickleball tournament and we'll pair local media with a pro." And I thought, that sounds like fun. I never played pickleball at all in my life, never. So I went to Crush Yard over in Mount Pleasant. I just kind of worked myself in. I was terrible. I had the basic knowledge. I didn't know how to keep score, all this. So fast forward to the Thursday, we're going to have this pickleball tournament, the media. I took the day off. I had all this. It was in the afternoon. It rained. Ironically, it stormed. But the next day, Jenny, so this was a Thursday. On a Friday, Channel 2 already had me at the Bridge Run packet pickup. So this is that big weekend where there's everything going on. Flowertown Festival, Bridge Run, and of course the tennis tournament. So I had to back out. I couldn't play. But that following day, I actually went for a little bit to the tournament, and I went back to where the pickleball was set up. And I told him, man, I'm so sorry I couldn't play yesterday. I was so bummed. He said, oh, what's your name? And I told him, he said, oh, you're on the list. Hang on a second. I've got something for you. He goes back behind a curtain and gives me this beautiful bag and a paddle. And I'm like, wait a second, I have a paddle, I got balls, I got a bag. Time to play. I live in Mount Pleasant, and a group gets together every Saturday morning, and I just started working in and just absolutely fell in love. And now maybe I'm obsessed, I don't know.
So you got a podcast.
I have a podcast, yes.
So tell us about that before we sign off.
Yeah, I started something on Channel 2. It's called the Rob Lob. I've had some great guests on, learned a lot about pickleball, and we're going to continue it. The purpose is to get people excited about pickleball, and those who are already playing are already excited. I always tell people, if you don't want to become obsessed with something, don't start playing pickleball.
It's very opposite of AI, because you're out here, and one of the things I like about pickleball is the concept of open play, which reminds me a little bit, even though I didn't play it, pick-up basketball, where you just show up. I may be on the court with you, I may be I know or don't know, but it really is a place to get to know each other and build community and have some fun. Good. Shall we go play some pickleball?
I think we should.
All right, let's do it.
I hear the noise. We should follow the noise.
Follow the pickleballs. All right, thanks so much. Okay, so we're going to move into my recommendations. The first one is obvious. Give pickleball a try. I think you might like it. My second recommendation is to listen to a recent episode of the Ezra Klein show. I'm a big fan. It's a little wonky, but the episode I really highly recommend that you listen to is the August 18th episode, and it's titled, "The AIs Are Already Out of Control." It's long. It's a long podcast. It's an hour and 10 minutes. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts. I don't think you have to be a subscriber of the New York Times to listen to it, but it is so worth it. His guest is Helen Toner, and she is a prominent AI governance researcher and strategy expert. She's known near and far for her work on AI safety, her former role as a board member of OpenAI, and by the way, she was part of a small group of people on the board who worked to fire Sam Altman, which they did. There was a period where they fired him, who's the CEO of OpenAI. You may recall all that hoopla around it, and they ended up hiring him back with some conditions. But at any rate, this woman really knows her stuff, and I think she's very balanced in her approach to AI. So I think you'll enjoy it a great deal. I can't think of a better way to get a real understanding about the risks of AI than to listen to this podcast episode. And finally, in my recommendations segment, I want to follow up on a recommendation I made earlier, which was to read Cory Doctorow's newest book, The Reverse Centaur's Guide to Life After AI. It's been out less than 2 months, and instantly became a New York Times bestseller. When I recommended the book, I had yet to read it myself. It had just come out. Now I have read it, and I'm very glad I did. But let me tell you, it is a real downer. Real downer. If you are a person looking for backup for the argument that AI is bad, this book is for you. I'm really glad I read it, because I usually fall into the optimistic camp for pretty much everything, but I need to hear all these negative points of view because I'm going for balance. And this is probably a good place to move right into our wrap-up for this episode. The aiGED podcast, as listeners know, lives on the helpful side of AI, but we do know that AI can be hazardous and risky. So please be sure to protect your info, double-check advice, and most important, trust your judgment. And remember, it is never too late to learn something new, especially something that might make life easier and more fun. Thank you for listening, and please remember to recommend the aiGED podcast to your pals in the 65-plus crowd, or, honestly, at any age. Cheers.